Hello. Hello, guys. So, just for a show of hands, who was at the first boot camp? Okay. Okay, cool. So, we'll be going over today is more intermediate, but like if you didn't go to the first one, you'll be fine. So, today we're gonna be making a small little FPS game, and it's actually really cool. So, create a new Unity project, and you can just name it whatever. And it's going to be in 3D. What? Yeah. Right. Hmm?
Do you want to put the code, link people to the code, so they can copy it in to follow along faster?
What do you mean, like, give them the code?
So they can just copy it in so they don't get lost.
Why?
Because a lot of people last time were like, was that a curly brace or a square bracket or a parenthesis? And it took a long time to get people unstuck from that, which is probably not the most productive thing.
That's true.
Up to you.
Okay, so did everyone create their new project? Okay, so, like with most new games, you want to put a plane for the playing field. So, just go to Create, right-click here, or click on Create, 3D Object, Plane, and it should be here. And now that you've added something, this is a good time to save your scene so you don't lose it. So go to File, Save Scene As, and then just whatever. And this is a pretty small plane. And the game that we want to make, we want it to be like a big open space. So you should like make it bigger by just scaling it more. So I'm going to scale it by 10. Hopefully that's good enough. For people that just came in, we just created a new Unity project and put in a plane. Is everyone good? Okay, cool. So we didn't go over this last boot camp, but I think that we should go over it now. So I introduced in the first boot camp that there was this asset store right here where you could download a bunch of stuff if it loads. And so we can use it right now because like our plane, it's pretty boring. It's white. It's just plain. And instead of having like just some color on it, I think we should add like something cool like grass. So just like, search grass free. And hopefully There's a free grass, yes, right here. And so when you're downloading something in the asset store, just click on it. You can read the reviews. It gives like a breakdown of everything that it gives you. So based off of this, it's giving us a material and a bunch of pictures that you don't need to worry about. But yeah, so you just click on import, and you need a Unity login. If you don't have one, make one now. It's going to be really useful. And if you're a student, you get a bunch of benefits. I forgot exactly what the benefits were, but they're good, like all student benefits. And so when you import it, you'll get something like this. This is good. So you just click on import. And so now you should have this folder down here in your assets. And then inside of it, you have your material. And pretty much all you need to do is click and drag the material on it, and it will add it. Yeah.
Is there a certain view you need to be in to see the grass?
Sorry, say that again?
Is there a view you need to be in because I dragged it on and it says like materials on it, but you can't see it on the viewer?
It needs to be on plane. Like you click on plane and then just click and drag it here. Did you do that?
Oh, yeah. I don't, what about the light and the camera? Do you need to set those up?
No, they should be there automatically when you created your new project. Or are they not there?
No.
Ian? Okay, is everyone good? Do we all have the grass on the plane? Okay, so since we're creating an FPS shooter game, we want to have an FPS component. So the cool thing is Unity already makes one for you. And so all you need to do is go to Assets, up here, Assets, Import Package, and it's Characters right here. So it's Assets, Import Package, Characters, and just import it. Yeah.
What's the difference between those assets and those in the asset store?
So these are just like pretty generic things that Unity already gives you, like an FPS controller, stuff like that. But stuff in the asset store is more like what people make. So like you can buy things that people put on the asset store. So it's pretty cool. So after importing, you'll get this editor folder and this standard assets folder. So if we look inside the standard assets folder, we have multiple things, but we want to go to character, and then we have first person character. This is where we'll find our FPS component. And so just go to prefabs, and here we have it right here, FPS controller. And all you need to do is simply just click and drag, and it will be put on the, it's not on the plane, but just position it at 0, 0, 0 to get it on the plane. So it should look something like this, like a cylindrical type thing. And so again, to get that, just go to your assets, standard assets, which is what we just imported. Go to characters, and then first person characters, and then prefabs. And it's this one right here. And so the cool thing about the FPS controller prefab is that it has like all of the things you need to worry about that you don't need to worry about. So like if you run it, it's pretty cool. It already has like the FPS camera set up, and so when you move your mouse around, like, you know, it'll mimic the motion of the FPS camera. And so it's cool that it already has that set up for you. And then you can just walk with WASD or your arrow keys. And so here we have like an FPS character. And the cool thing is, again, you don't need to change like anything. You just literally drag and drop the FPS prefab. Oh yeah. It also has walking sounds, and it also has the head bobbing motion already implemented in it. So.
Is there a way to automatically reset the position when you fall off the edge?
There is, but just don't fall off the edge for now. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So that's the FPS controller prefab. I don't know if I explained this last bootcamp, but a prefab is pretty much just like, you can think of it as like a folder and like a physical thing at the same time, because like this FPS controller isn't just like some random 3D object. Like it has like certain things attached to it, like this first person character camera, and all of these different components. So a prefab is pretty much like a 3D object, but like it has a bunch of things to it. And we'll see that later on soon for the enemies that we'll be importing. But is everyone good so far? Good. Okay. If you need like help, just raise your hand. Like we got people to help you. Okay, so we got our FPS character for our FPS game. We have like our playing field. But we need some enemies, and we should go get them. So let's go to the asset store and look up Toon Soldier. And this should be free. And it's this thing right here, Toon Soldier's demo. So just click on that, import it. So it should be right here in the Toon Soldier folder under Assets. So just go to that folder and then go to Models, and then this is the Toon Soldier, so you can just click and drag. It should be right here. So it's in Toon Soldier demo, and then models, and then this one right here. So if you notice, this Toon Soldier isn't really doing much. Like when you run the game, he's just standing there. Yeah, he's just standing there. But we can add an animation to it. And they provided an animation. Not all things you import from the asset store are gonna come like exactly like this, but this one has animations for him. And so just look at the correct, there should be like a walking animation, and we could find that. Yeah, so it's the second one in this folder, in the animation folder for the Toon Soldier. And so pretty much all you need to do is, so go to your soldier and then click and drag this into here. Wait a second. Actually, add component. Hold on a second. I dragged and dropped it in the wrong place. Combat run. Okay, wait, sorry. So there's this prefab assault combat run, but you need this animation right here. So you click and drag this onto the soldier. My bad. So just get rid of that. There. So it wasn't this whole prefab, it was just this specific animation inside of it for the running. So you click and drag that onto the soldier right here. So click and drag this onto here for the soldier. Okay, is everyone good? Is there soldier running when you run it? Running. Okay, so now that we've got it to run, and since we have our FPS controller, we should get, like a gun or something to shoot the soldier, because we're gonna have like the soldiers coming after you in the game, and so you get points by shooting them and killing them. So go to the asset store and then just look up like gun free. And you can pick whatever gun you want, but I'm just gonna go for this one maybe. I'm gonna go with this PM40 gun, but you guys can choose whatever you want. I have no idea why this is taking so long to import. Okay, there. So, under assets, I believe the guns in here, Helica, PM40.
She doesn't have the running animation in her Toon Soldier thing, or the animation thing. Like there's 4 animations, but the running one isn't there.
It should be the second one of the 4. Is it not?
No, well, I don't think so.
It's the second one. So, depending on which gun you got, just look for models, and then look for the prefab. And it appears that there are 4 different guns it gave us. Wow. Yeah, so they gave us 4 different guns in this one, so I'll just randomly pick this one. Whoa, that's a big gun. Yeah, so a lot of things on the asset store are like pretty arbitrary, so don't expect like everything to like scale nicely. So I think I need to like rotate this. So yeah, scale the gun accordingly. You want to have it like not too big, but like as small as like your FPS controller can see it. You know, because it's an FPS game. You know, so yeah. So just play around with the scaling and the rotations and such until you've got it to a good like scale.
How do you add the run animation to the soldier?
So the animation is like a folder, so go inside the folder and then it should be the one with the play button on it. Just click and drag that onto the soldier.
Okay, so the soldier should be the parent of like the animation.
Yeah. Because in the animator, the controller should have the animation. So yeah, you wanna like scale it correctly, and then you wanna drag your gun and drop it on the FPS controller. And what this does is, whenever your FPS controller moves, the gun will move along with it.
Do you have to place it first in front of?
Yeah, so you have to place it like in the view of the FPS camera, and instead of running it to check it each time, just go to FPS controller and just click on the first person character, and it should show a camera preview down here. So yeah, this is probably the hardest part of this whole boot camp. What? Did you drag the gun and drop it on the FPS controller?
It stays with the with the first person, but it just moves from right in the middle to the right side of the view.
Like when you turn.
When as soon as I stop moving.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's because, so there's an issue with like your gun's like collider is interfering with the collider of like the FPS controller. So wait, do you originally have it set up in the middle or you have it like to the side? Yeah. Wait, see if it works. Oh wait, it also Oh, okay, so I think your FPS controller is a little bit immature. Oh, so you shouldn't be like changing the first person character, because that's the camera, but change the FPS controller like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're like moving the position of your FPS character, don't move the first person character part, because that's like the camera that's like, you know, a part of the whole character body. So just move this one. And like when you first like create it, it's gonna be like below the surface. So just like, you know, raise it a bit above. Because like even though there's no physical seeable object, there technically is, because like it has its own rigid body, so it has physics to it. So yeah. So like when you run it, like it doesn't have to look perfect, but this is what mine looks like, just like first person. So if you might notice that if you drag and drop the gun on the FPS controller, like if you looked up, then the gun wouldn't follow. It would just stay in like the horizontal view, like left, right. But if you drag and drop on the camera part, the first person character right here, it'll like allow you to see it like when you move up, like look up, but it won't have the bobbing effect. And the reason for that is this is simply a camera. It's not like a physical object, if that makes sense. But this thing right here, the FPS controller has a rigid body, so it has like the walking motion and the footsteps attached to this. So yeah, you can think of this as just like the eyes, not the physical like body. But yeah, so is everyone good for the most part? Awesome. So I noticed some people, for their guns that they got, they already have bullets. But I'll show for the people that don't have like the bullets already in their imported gun package, like how to do that. So just create like a normal sphere. And just make it small enough where like you can notice it, but at the same time like be small enough to see. Or yeah, whatever. Just like make it like as big as the end of the barrel of the gun.
Is there a faster way to scale it than typing these numbers? Like, is there any way to track it?
Yeah. This right here, I believe, scales it. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. My bad. This one. Yeah. So this one right here, this rotation.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we'll be needing it there. I'll show you later, but just make sure it goes with the gun for now. So just like drag and drop on the gun, then it should stay. Yeah. We'll be needing that because of later on, but. And like you can make your bullet whatever color you want. I'm just keeping it white for now just so I can see it. But is everyone good? Did they position their bullet in front of the gun? Okay, so now we're gonna be adding script to make the bullet like shoot, create bullets and like have it shoot. So pretty much up until this point, we've gone through the first step of like game creation, like getting all your models and all your prefabs on the like the playing field, I guess you can say. And now we're gonna be implementing scripts to like add function to like our tangible things. So go to your FPS controller and then just add a new script. So add component, new script, and you can just name this whatever you want, but this is gonna be like what we're gonna do for the bullets. So just like name it. I'm naming mine bullet. And then open it in your preferred text editor, or just use the Unity text editor just by double clicking on it. Also, you should save your scene right now. Saving's always good. Okay, so now that we're in our script for what we're gonna do to make the bullets like go, or like create and shoot, is I'm gonna first add a public transform, and we're just gonna call it projectile. This is pretty much what we're gonna have shoot continuously when we click. So just have that. And we also want to note our gun that we're using. So we're gonna have a public game object gun, and you'll see why we have these in a second. And so when we don't need anything for this script, so we can technically delete this, but let's just keep it. But in our update, we want to have we want to check if our shoot button is clicked, so that we can like shoot a bullet. So this is just saying if input dot get button down parentheses quotes fire 1. So this is basically saying if we like left click while running, while running, we want to create a new game object, which is going to be our bullet, but I'm just going to call it clone, and you'll see why in a second. And we're going to instantiate projectile, comma, gun.transform.position comma transform dot rotation as game object. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay, is that good? Can everyone see? Everyone can see? Good. So pretty much what is happening is in this update, which runs continuously when you run your program, we're checking to see if we fire our gun, which is just like left clicking. And what we're doing is we're creating a new game object with this instantiate method. And so what we're doing is we're creating a clone of projectile and like, our bullet. And we're putting it at the position of our gun right here. And we're just setting its orientation, its rotation like that. And we have to cast it as a game object because instantiate returns an object, but we want a game object. So that's like explaining like what's going on. And like as you go on like through the semester in your teams, while using Unity, you'll notice that like a lot of the same things have this like similar structures. So like it's good knowing like what all of this means. So that's what's happening. But there's like a slight error in this. We don't technically want to spawn the bullet where the gun is, because it's like gonna conflict with the body of the gun, and it's like gonna bounce everywhere or whatever. Just like play around with the position of it, but to like create a new position from a position, you just add another vector 3. And so like I'll just do an example of that, but you guys should like play around with it yourself. So new plus in parentheses new vector 3, and what you'll have in here is just like what you want to add to the vector of your gun, if that makes sense. So like let's say the bullet is 0.5 x 0.5 units on the x-axis away, just that, then you would do 0.5 0 0, because we only want to affect the x-axis of the gun. Yeah.
So if the location in the viewer is already like in front of the gun and not touching it, do you need that vector still?
No. Wait, no, yes, because like you don't want because the physical position of the gun is in the center of the gun. So like if you spawn something there, it's gonna like not work as well as like spawning it in front of it. Does that make sense?
Right. So the offset is so that the bullet doesn't like hit the gun on the way out, right?
Yes.
So but if the bullet's like already in front of the barrel, it wouldn't hit the gun, would it?
It still would.
Okay.
Because I just had you guys put the bullet there just for like reference. Like we're not putting it in that. I guess you could technically, but you would have to declare a new vector variable here in start, but not in update, if that makes sense.
Oh, so it clones a new object at the center of the gun then?
Yeah, but what you can do is you can like create a new vector 3, like vector 3 for initial projectile position, and that's just going to be the position of the projectile dot transform or dot position. And so when you first run the program, thank you for pointing that out. So when you first run the program, you'll note in this script like the original position of the sphere that we added, which should where the bullets come out from. So instead of having this like instantiating it where the gun is, which is what you can do with an offset, we can just simply add initial projectile position. You should declare this here. There. Should work now. Yeah. So save it, and let's test it out. Oh wait, so because we have a bunch of public variables and we need to like, pick what they are, just wait until this like refreshes there. There it goes. And so like click and drag your sphere that you had onto here and your gun onto here. I guess we technically don't need the gun anymore, but whatever, just keep it. God dang it. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, what just happened? Okay, yeah, so what we have now in our code is just creating it. And if you got what I got was just a screen of white, that's because like it created a new one and it's just like in the face of the camera. So we want to like, add force to it so we can like get it to project. Yeah, so what we want to do is we want to go to our sphere and we want to be adding a force to it when we instantiate it, like when we create a clone of it, which what we did in the last script. So we need to add a new rigid body, or just add a rigid body to it so we can add physics effects to it. So just go to add component, physics, and then rigid body. And now we can add some force to it when it's created. So just go to add component, and then we're going to create a new script. You can just name it like movement, because that's what it's going to be doing. Okay, so did everyone create a script for their bullet? Okay, so like I said, what we want to do is make this like go far like a bullet would. So what we're going to do in update is we're going to continuously make it go forward. So we want it to be transform dot position plus equals transform dot forward times time dot delta time. Okay, so save this, and you want to make sure your sphere is no longer like under the gun, and run it and see what happens when you click. So basically what's happening right now is it's noting the position of the ball where it started, and so I remember now that's why I didn't have what he brought up. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, the bug was we noted this original position, but we keep that position like throughout, but we don't want that. We want it like continuously checking where the gun was. So that's why we need to have gun dot transform dot position plus the offset. So does everyone understand like what the error was? Yeah. You don't understand? So we had this initial projectile position, and that's like where we had our sphere when we first ran the program. But that changes like as the program goes on. And so that's what was happening was whenever we clicked fire, it would create another clone but in that original position. But what we want it to do is in a position in front of the gun. So, and the gun's position changes continuously, so that's what makes it work. Yeah, so like I said, like 10 minutes ago, play around with this offset. So yeah, the offset will be like the distance between your gun and where you want the bullet to spawn. And again, to add the offset, just add in parentheses a new vector 3 with however much you want the x, y, and z of the gun position to change, if that makes sense. So like if you just wanted to change the x position, you would just do like whatever you wanted to change it by, and then zeros for the rest. And an easy way to find this offset is like going and seeing like the position right here of your gun and the position of your sphere right here and like subtracting. Are you talking about this one right here?
Yeah, they don't show up.
Drag and drop?
The projectile and gun aren't there yet.
What do you mean?
Under bullet script.
Oh, like they're not showing, like this isn't showing. Just like save it. Sometimes that does it, or you can just like run it and then unrun it.
Because I can't run it because it says that all the compiler errors need to be fixed.
Is it public or private in your script?
Only use, I think. Public.
Try saving it. Yeah. Okay, so let me play around with this. -7.6.